Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Monday, July 19th, 2021. And if you have anything interesting to report, some interesting photos of some sky phenomena or nature, please send them on. I'd be interested to hear from you. You can send them to peter.chan@noaa.gov. And if you'd like additional weather information, we have all sorts of things online. You can begin with weather.gov/Alaska. Let's take a look at what we have coming up here. The weather headlines. Well, this weekend was a warm one across much of the state. Records were broken at Yakutat on Saturday, 77 degrees. Anchorage enjoyed 3 days of record-setting temperatures, 76, a record-tying high on Friday, 79, a record-breaking high on Saturday, and to top things off, 81, a new record on Sunday in the Anchorage area. And the upper ridge that was responsible for all the warm weather here across the interior is shifting east and in the process of kind of a dampening. So parts of east central along the Alcan border will hold into the warmth at least into tomorrow and Wednesday. But wet and cooler weather will be invading the interior of the west, southwest, and south central areas. Already we've seen scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms become more numerous out over south central areas south of the Alaska Range today, and we'll be watching an area of low pressure form, an upper level impulse riding now through the Aleutians. Eastern central Aleutians will emerge and form a Gulf of Alaska lobe just east of Kodiak Island Wednesday up through the end of the week, which is going to spread more rains into the southeast panhandle, especially later on Wednesday into Friday and likely into the upcoming weekend. So fire danger has come down a bit. It will remain high, though, in areas, some pockets on the north side of the Alaska Range and especially around the Yukon Flats. But otherwise, we're not anticipating, other than maybe some isolated lightning strikes, to be one of the primary weather culprits, because we're not looking at really super dry conditions or a lot of wind. So that's good news here for the next few days. So on the satellite imagery, we continue to see circulation there southwest of Haida Gwaii, and as we head further north and west out over the Bering, that's where the primary circulations are. We have a low pressure out of the North Bering and some upper level energy now moving through the south eastern portion of the Bering, approaching the Alaska Peninsula associated with the trough, and that's the feature that's going to spread some denser cloud cover and steadier rains into the southwest and southwest interior, including the Alaska Peninsula. And all of that will be pushing northeastward during the day on Tuesday, spreading up from Kodiak Island on up toward the Kenai as we head through the day tomorrow. Again, taking a look at the satellite imagery, there's a weak circulation out kind of southeast of the Gulf, and then area out through the Bering. We have one impulse working its way through the southeast, and another, the primary low will be lifting northeastward and be located up around the Bering and lower Chukchi Sea as we head through the day on Tuesday. But here's the current weather map. Weak high pressure remains over the Gulf. That's in the process of weakening. We have numerous scattered showers and isolated storms along south of the Alaska Range, and then more precipitation pushing in to the west and southwest coast in response to that trough that's going to work its way northeastward overnight and into the day on Tuesday as the low pressure over the northern Bering kind of consolidates over the Chukchi Sea as we head into Tuesday afternoon. Now that trough that's kind of pushing into the western Gulf, we're going to see an area of low pressure develop as that upper level impulse arrives, and that's going to help spin up the low just east of Kodiak Island on Wednesday, and that low will remain in the Gulf then as we head through the rest of the week, mid and late week. And with the southerly flow ahead of it, that's going to push more moisture from south to north across the panhandle. So get out, enjoy what little bit of sunshine you might sneak out there. The northern panhandle, it could be up around 70 again for the day tomorrow at Haines and Skagway. Otherwise, the interior will see isolated thunderstorms, maybe a little more scattered there across the Alcan border, but back to the western half of the state will just be cloudy, including south central areas and the Alaska Peninsula, with periods of rain and showers, and that means temperatures will be confined mainly to the 50s to lower 60s at best, so quite a change from what we enjoyed over the weekend. Low temperatures Tuesday morning will be down in the lower 50s across the southeast and the inner waterways and back through south central areas. Lows generally in the 50s, though it could hang up around 60 there at McGrath. But look at the temperatures come Tuesday afternoon, really cooling down across the southwest, though you could still hit 70 there at Skagway and Haines. 77 at Glen Ellen. That's the eastern southeast interior will still have some warmer temperatures before the thicker cloud cover and showers arrive. Wednesday morning, lows across the region generally in the lower 50s. And then as we head through Wednesday afternoon, maybe a 70-degree reading at Glen Ellen, but everybody else 50s to lower 60s in the south central areas and lower 60s there in the inner waterways of the southeast. Along the Arctic coast, lows will be upper 30s to lower 40s, 40s along the Seward Peninsula, but 50s, even a few isolated 60-degree lows there in the Yukon Valley. And then as we go through Tuesday afternoon, still a warm one. Fort Yukon 85, 87 at Eagle Village. But that will probably be the last of the really warm days for a while. I'll tell you more as we get into the extended, but really cooling off along the west coast, west central coast, upper 40s to lower 50s. Wednesday morning, the lows could still be around 60 there at Fort Yukon, but everywhere else, generally across the western portion of the state there, getting back down into the 40s to near 50 degrees. High temperatures Wednesday afternoon could still squeak out an 80-degree reading at Fort Yukon or perhaps even down toward Northway, but with a better chance of some scattered thunderstorms popping with the daytime heating. And looking at the southwest lows Tuesday morning, still could be around 60 or so at McGrath, but the rest of the area generally in the 50s across the southwest interior, upper 40s along the coast and extending out into the Aleutian chain. And Tuesday afternoon, as the thicker cloud cover and rains overspread the southwest interior, temperatures will remain, unfortunately, only in the 50s. And that'll be the trend as we head into Wednesday as well. Wednesday morning, overnight lows around 50 to the lower 50s across the interior and along the coast, mid 40s to upper 40s, extending down along the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians. And let's take a look now at Wednesday's highs. Again, under the cloud cover with periods of rain or rain showers, temperatures will be confined mainly to the 50s. So here's a look, the extended temperature outlook, 6-day temperature outlook for Sunday, July 25th through Thursday, July 29th, and it's looking pretty good that temperatures could average above normal along the Brooks Range, North Slope areas, especially the northeastern third of the state. That would bring back some rather warm temperatures again. Otherwise, southern areas near to a bit below normal in the southeast, and then precipitation is expected to average below normal across much of the eastern third of the state, especially the North Slope and Arctic coast, with a little above normal precipitation possible as you get there along the Seward Peninsula down through the southwest and the Alaska Peninsula.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Here's your aviation weather. If you are planning a flight Tuesday into Wednesday, conditions are going to be deteriorating if they already haven't done so, especially across the western side of the state. We have an area of low pressure that will be tracking up from the northern Bering across the Bering Strait into the lower Chukchi Sea, and that's going to spread a trough frontal system inland across the western interior. And then energy riding up through the Aleutian chain will help spin up an area of low pressure out over the Gulf here for mid and late week. So there is a potential for isolated to scattered thunderstorms redeveloping with the daytime heating Tuesday afternoon, especially along and south of the Alaska Range, as well as to the north on up toward east central areas along the Alcan border. Also perhaps an isolated rumble of thunder there in the far northwest. Otherwise, IFR conditions increasing there across the west and spreading inland. And for Wednesday morning, we'll see more widespread IFR conditions across much of the southwest and western parts of the state, also increasing across the Gulf. And by Wednesday afternoon, still could be isolated to scattered storms, Yukon Flats down to the eastern Alaska Range to along the Alcan border, and extensive IFR conditions along the west, southwest into the Gulf as this couple areas of low pressure and frontal systems continue to impact the region. So past conditions for Tuesday, AKwx should enjoy at least one more VFR day, as should Adigan. Dropping further south and west, moisture will be increasing from the southwest at Lake Clark and Merrill, and conditions should become IFR at Lake Clark in the afternoon on Tuesday, and MVFR at Merrill. All areas becoming IFR for Tuesday night into Wednesday. Rainy Pass could see an isolated thunderstorm pop up in vicinity with conditions becoming MVFR Tuesday afternoon. And then Windy Pass should generally hold on to VFR conditions with perhaps a thunderstorm further south of the south entrance. And Isabel could see an isolated storm pop up in vicinity with generally VFR conditions holding on Tuesday, as will be the case at Mentasta. And further south and west, Tanita should hold on to VFR conditions, so it can't rule out an isolated storm popping up out there east of the east entrance and off toward the north. Portage will see VFR conditions become MVFR and then further deterioration to IFR Tuesday night into early Wednesday. And in the southeast panhandle, the far north, Chilcoot and White will enjoy VFR conditions during the day on Tuesday. So freezing levels are still quite warm. We have a ridge of high pressure still over much of the interior into northwest Canada, where freezing levels are above 10,000 feet. They are generally 12,000 feet plus there out over the eastern and central Aleutians, but there is a pocket of colder air over far eastern Russia, and that area of low pressure will be tracking from the northern Bering up into the lower Chukchi Sea here as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday. Icing potential will be greatest with that area of low pressure there in the northern Bering, as well as out along much of the west and southwest as a trough low pressure lifts northeastward with extensive moisture. And we could see icing between 8,000 and 14,000 feet in the northwest, 10,000 to 16,000 feet Seward Peninsula down into portions of the southwest, and then out over the Alaska Peninsula into Kodiak Island, 12,000 feet and a flight level of 18,000 feet, with a pocket of 9,000 to 16,000 foot icing potential there off of the British Columbia coast and Haida Gwaii. Now, the low pressure circulation continues there off the British Columbia coast, but the primary low is going to be passing up through the northern Bering and Bering Strait, strong 90 plus knot jet core located just north of the Aleutian chain. And that energy at the mid-levels you can see still reflected there across the Aleutians over 55 knots at 9,000 feet. That energy is going to be moving into the Gulf to help spin up that low pressure system. Meanwhile, the primary circulation there near the Bering Strait with south-southwest flow of 35 to 45 knots across the west. And then dropping down to 3,000 feet, the primary circulation remains there in the lower Chukchi Sea on Tuesday with south-southwest flow of 30 to 35 knots there in the west, and from the northwest at about 40 knots across the Aleutians. The greatest potential for some turbulence will be surface to 4,000 feet across western and southwest areas of the state, as well as from the tip of the Alaska Peninsula back through the eastern half of the Aleutians between a surface and 4,000 feet. And always keep in mind there could be some turbulence in the vicinity of isolated scattered thunderstorms, especially across the southeast part of the state. That does it for your flight weather.
Ahoy, Cadets, and welcome to the Okeanos Explorer. I'm Debbie, and I'm an ocean explorer. I work for NOAA, which stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Together with many other people, I work on this ship, and we explore the deep sea. How do we do that? Let's go find out.
Octonauts, let's do this. Yow!
The pressure in the ocean is so great humans can't go there, so we send a special robot. Octocadets, meet Deep Discoverer, our special robot for ocean exploration. And this is Chris. He works with Deep Discoverer. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Debbie.
Can you tell us about what Deep Discoverer does?
Sure. So this is Deep Discover, and today we're going to take Deep Discover up to 4 miles down to the ocean floor so you can see what Deep Discover sees.
And how do we do that?
We do that by using these powerful cameras and powerful lights.
That's neat. And what is that?
And this is our manipulator arm, and we use this arm to take biological and geological samples that we store up front in these boxes, and so that we can bring them to the surface so scientists can analyze them.
Wow, isn't that cool, Octocadets? Wow! Now that we know more about the special robot that explores the seafloor, let's find out more about the ship. Octocadets, let's do this. Now let's find out what we do with D2's video. Come along. This is the control room. A lot of things about D2 happen in here. Behind me you see the pilots. They steer D2 on the seafloor. And over here we have scientists. Hi Steve and Stacy.
Hi, this is Steve and I'm Stacy and we are marine biologists.
Can you tell us about the work you do here?
We actually look at the videos collected by the robots and we try to identify organisms along with other scientists on the shore.
What are you looking at right now?
We're actually looking at a sea star.
That's so awesome, thank you. Now let's look at how we make maps of the seafloor.
Excellent, Quasi. A good map helps you to get to places you've never been.
We also have a scientist on board who makes maps of the seafloor. Hi Derek.
Hi Debbie.
Can you tell us about your work?
Sure. My job on the ship is to make maps of the ocean floor. We do this by sending sound from the bottom of the ship. It echoes off the seafloor and comes back to the ship. And then from that, we can make maps like this. So this is what it would look like if you were able to drain the water out of the ocean and actually see what the landscape looked like down there. We use these maps to give the vehicles a place to dive, and they explore further, just like octonauts do.
Status report, Dashi.
We're right on course, Captain.
So earlier we learned that D2 picks things up from the seafloor with his manipulator arm. Let's find out what we do with those samples. This is the wet lab, and Megan spends a lot of time here. Megan, can you tell us about your work?
I am the sample data manager, so when the ROV comes up, we go out and we collect the samples from the ROV and we bring them in here. And we try to record as much information about them as possible, everything from the details about what they look like to the environment conditions where they were found. How cold was it, for example? Then we come in and we take imagery using this microscope, and we take pictures using this camera as well. And then after we get all the pictures taken and we're ready, we prepare them for shipping to other scientists and museums so more science can be done, such as this wet lobster, this cup coral as well.
And what is that?
This is a piece of coral, or several pieces of coral, that we think might actually be a new species. So we are going to send it out for a comparison to existing species to see if we discovered something new.
Wow, you have a really cool job.
Thank you.
Fascinating. I've read about this, but I've never actually seen it.
An important part of how we explore the ocean is keeping in touch with scientists and Octocadets on shore. Let's go see how we do that. Rosemary, could you tell the Octocadets a little about what that dish does?
Sure. My name is Lieutenant Rosemary Abbott. I'm the operations officer aboard the Okeanos Explorer, and that is our VSAT. It stands for Very Small Aperture Terminal, and inside that satellite dome is a very powerful dish antenna that allows us to communicate with shore and share video in real time. The technology is called telepresence.
Wow, that is so interesting. Thank you, Rosemary. Now I'm getting really hungry. Let's go to the kitchen and talk about food. This is the ship's kitchen, also known as the galley. And this is Michael. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Debbie.
Michael is the chief steward on this ship, and he keeps 49 people fed for 3 weeks at a time. Michael, how do you do that?
With a lot of care and with the help of 3 crew members. I have myself, the chief steward, a chief cook, and a second cook. And we just do it with a lot of love and care and make sure that everybody's happy and well fed. We use up to 150 dozen eggs per trip, up to 100 gallons of milk, a lot of veggies and fruits, a lot of snacks. Everybody's very pleased with what we usually put out. We also make sure that we do it in a loving way, in a sanitary way, in a safe way that keeps everybody from getting any tummy aches.
I'm about to enter the ship's bridge. It's like the Octopod's headquarters.
Octonauts to the HQ.
Ahoy, Captain.
Ahoy, Debbie.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Octocadets, meet Eric Johnson, the commander of the ship. Eric, can you tell us about what you do up here?
Absolutely. Hello, Octa Cadets. My name's Eric Johnson. I'm an O-Corps officer, and I'm the captain of the Okeanos Explorer. Welcome to my office. This is where we drive the ship. This is where we control the operations. We run the propellers that are underneath us in the back to the wheel up here at the front, which is where we steer. It's a pretty cool job. It's very exciting, and it's pretty beautiful around here as well.
So, Octocadets, now you know a little bit about the ship and how we explore the deep sea. I hope you enjoyed our time together. I'll see you next time.
Debbie, safety first.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back, and we close our show now with the marine weather segment with today's sea ice edge. A lot of open water there along the northwest coast. The Arctic coast continues to see the ice breaking up along the shoreline, but we do not anticipate a whole lot of movement with the ice here over the next couple of days. Low pressure will be tracking from the North Bering across the strait and reside over the lower Chukchi Sea over the next couple of days. Across the southeast, we are going to see winds for the inner channels from the southeast and south, 10 to 15 knots, and waves 2 or 3 feet. Along the outer coast there in the Gulf side, we are looking for winds from the northwest, 20 knots south end, 10 to 15 knots across the north, with swells anywhere from 3 to maybe as high as 4 to 5 feet along southern coastal areas. And on Wednesday, winds will continue southeast to south around 10 knots, the lower portion of the Panhandle, with 2-footers and maybe upwards to 20 knots and some 4-footers there in Lynn Canal. And generally onshore westerly flow around 10 knots through the southern half with waves of 3 feet, and more southerly flow 15 to 20 knots Yakutat westward and waves around 3 feet. Tuesday, pretty quiet there across south central areas as far as winds. Winds variable 10 knots across the north side of the Gulf, and Prince William Sound only 2-footers. But down toward the south end of the Cook Inlet, at the mouth there, we could see winds picking up from the southeast at upwards of 25 to 30 knots with waves of maybe 6 to 8 feet. In response to low pressure that'll be forming just east of Kodiak Island on Wednesday, you see the counterclockwise circulation setting up there. Winds picking upwards to 25 knots off the Kenai with waves building 5 to 7 feet. And winds along the length of Cook Inlet out of the northeast to north at 10 to 15 knots and waves 3 to 4 feet. The Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, that's where we'll start to see circulation develop. We have the trough coming through there on Tuesday. Winds ahead of it, southwest 20 to 25 knots on the Pacific side, waves 6 to 8 feet, and southwesterly around 15 knots and waves 4 to 6 feet on the Bering side. And then you can see that just east of Kodiak Island, the low center, as the circulation develops, winds west-northwest 20 to 25 knots on the North Pacific side, 8 to 9 foot waves, and out of the west at 20 to 25 knots and waves 5 to 7 feet on the Bering side. As the trough clears the Aleutians, we'll see winds, eastern Aleutians, around 25 knots from the southwest, and that'll lead to waves of 8 to 9 feet on the North Pacific side and 6 to 8 feet on the Bering side. And then as we head into Wednesday, east end of the Aleutians still holding up there from the west-southwest at 20 to 25 knots and waves generally in the 6 to 8 foot range. But as you get to the western Aleutians, west of Adak, southwest winds 15 knots and waves around 4 to 5 feet, Kiska and Shemya. As the trough lifts northeastern into the mainland on Tuesday, winds will turn southwesterly to westerly. Behind it there at St. Matthew, St. Paul, and St. George, around 15 knots, waves 4 to 6 feet. And then as we go through Wednesday, look for winds to be turning more northwesterly there up to the north of Nunavik Island at 15 to 20 knots, waves 5 to 7 feet. And generally from the west there at St. Paul and St. George with waves around 7 feet. Along the Arctic coast, winds will be east-northeast 15 to 20 knots, but picking up out of the northeast 25 knots off of Wainwright and Cape Lisburne, out over the lower Chukchi Sea with waves building to 8 feet. And then on Wednesday, look for easterly winds along the Arctic coast 20 to 25 knots, with generally the ice holding there, but trying to turn back toward the southwest as you get north of the strait and the lower Chukchi Sea with waves of 5 to 8 feet. And a quick check of what we have coming up on the synoptic map. You can see by Tuesday we'll have an area of low pressure setting up over the lower Chukchi Sea after it's tracking out of the North Bering. And it'll just kind of sit there the next couple of days. More importantly, we're going to watch an area of low pressure take shape just east of Kodiak Island as some mid-level energy riding through the eastern Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula helped form that low there on Wednesday, and that feature will become the dominant feature across the Gulf of Alaska mid and late week. It's going to bring another push of frontal rains up into the southeast panhandle and a little stronger winds as we head into Thursday and Friday. Meanwhile, the low continues to spin up there over the lower Chukchi Sea. And that's it for our show this evening. Dave Percy is on deck for tomorrow. I'll rejoin you again come the weekend. Have a pleasant evening.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.